All right, welcome back, folks. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. He is Gary Sheffield Jr. This is Yankees Unloaded coming at you no matter if they win or lose. Most of the time they win, but right now, Gary, it looks like we're in the midst of a potential falling out here. Yankees Twitter is ablaze. People are saying to trade everybody. I think, a game like today against the Braves, after a game like yesterday, 17-5, I think just the idea that they could even repeat, I would argue this game was worse than yesterday. Because
I completely
yesterday,
agree.
something about yesterday, they still felt like they had a shot to rally back at a few points in the game. This game never at any point, like I felt like Chris Sale was just stomping on the throats of the Yankees. Like they had no chance. Chris Sale was dominant. I give him a lot of credit. He's been through a lot injury wise. He looked as good as he's been this year. I think two things we glossed over I want to touch on. And I'll get your thoughts first and then I'll say my piece. First thing we glossed over, Atlanta has been much better as of late. They came in winning 3 straight. They came in winning 7 or 6 of their last 7 after losing 6 in a row. I mean, including which to the Nationals. So they came in and they've been hot as of late. And they're trying to pick up the pieces because Acuna, is out for the year. And they've done this before. They won a World Series. Let's not forget it. But it's a different squad. No Freddie Freeman, none of that. But Gary, end of the day, I don't think we prepared enough for the Braves on our show. I kind of went back and I looked and I was like, yeah, we kind of glossed over that they came in pretty hot in the, immediate realm. The second thing we glossed over that I want to touch on is that, and we had talked off air, but for whatever reason, I never said anything, on air. Neither did you. Luis Heel had a day off. Rodon had a day off. And I texted you this, and this, I just can't help but think it's really, it's very ironic. Bringing back Garrett Cole honestly crippled the Yankees in the short term, maybe the long term, hopefully not. And it's not Garrett Cole's fault. He pitched 62 pitches, total waste of a start. And in addition to that, you had Heel and Rodon, who have pitched really well this year. They were coming off a day's rest, an extra day's rest. And I want to make it very clear to people, when you're talking about an extra day's rest, that works for position players. But the routines that these starting pitchers have are just kind of crazy. So, Gary, those two things I want you to touch on: the Braves, how we missed that, and then the Garrett Cole debacle, we'll call it.
Yeah, so as far as the Braves, and I feel like a lot of people would agree with this, I didn't necessarily overlook the Braves, and I don't think anyone else did either, but we have to be honest with what just happened at Yankee Stadium the series prior. And it was a huge test for us because we had not fared well at all against Baltimore, okay? We kind of chalked it up to some early season blues and not much to conclude in that early season series against Baltimore. And this series, in which we have played excellent baseball overall the last 2 months, of course, we were the first team to 50 wins, but Baltimore coming to New York was our test. That was our test that we would have considered last year and the year prior against Houston. Yes, it's good to win a bunch of regular season games, but we're all judged. This team is judged by what we do against our biggest competitor. Our biggest competitor and our biggest challenge right now is the Baltimore Orioles. It is not close. In the American League, if we can pass them, we should feel really strong about getting through the AL, period. We failed. It was a failed test. And so right now we're trying to get off the mat no veteran has stepped up yet to stop the bleeding because that's what's necessary. Tomorrow we've got Stroman on the mound. He's got to do that job, stopping the bleeding and having a rebound the way we're seeing Atlanta do right now. So, of course, sitting here in the short term, looking at Atlanta, yes, they're playing much better baseball of late. I think there was some shell shock there with the Acuna news, but they've dealt with this news before. We can't expect this team with championship pedigree to quit. They're not going to. They have to believe that they still have the pedigree, as I've mentioned, to go through a wild card if Philadelphia is going to run away with that division. Fine. But as far as Garrett Cole, and I think this is a really good point, you text this to me about rushing him back. It's not necessarily that they rushed him. In my opinion, they could have just chosen another day to use him. Simple choice. Why move people off their routine if they're doing well? What's the purpose? There must be some type of purpose because, again, and we mentioned this last show for those of you who missed it, they chose to throw Garrett Cole with a pitch count, right? They decided that he was going to throw 65 pitches before the game ever started. So they knew coming into the following starts, we're going to be burning our bullpen behind Garrett Cole. Okay, they chose that. And then we had nothing left for the biggest series of the year so far in June. I don't understand that. So it's hard for me to say that we overlooked a team when we're trying to get off the mat from what just happened, because I do believe there are a lot of Yankees fans. I know in hindsight, they're going to say, I knew this was going to happen, but we were feeling good. Our comment section was feeling great coming into this Baltimore series. We were at home. We avoided Corbin Burns. There was a lot to be excited about. And when we showed up with Garrett Cole and he just got, he was fine, but the bullpen gets punched in the mouth and then Luis Gil goes up and gets shelled. Yeah, like it was almost like we backed up into a corner and we're like trying to figure out who we are again. So that's the hard part about being the Yankees. It's tough because we're overly judgmental and critical of this team, but rightfully so. We spend $300 million on players. You have got to win against the teams that matter. So far, Juan Soto in the series against Baltimore and this first game against Atlanta, Juan Soto has one hit. He has struck out 7 times. It's absolutely unacceptable play. He's been incredible all season long. But again, the biggest test of the year, so far in the short term, we've failed. So I think that's part of the reason, Jake, we've overlooked this challenge that's right in front of us because we're almost looking in the rearview mirror about what just happened.
Yeah, it's the only good thing that you could really take away. Well, first off, let's give a little golf clap to Jahmai Jones. Everyone complained about him batting 5th. He's the only one who did anything. A triple? How about that? Good for him. I'm one of those people too, so I'm calling myself out. Anybody should have been like Jahmai Jones batting 5th. All right.
Dog, we had 3 hits.
So one of my best friends, huge fan of this show, he said he wouldn't watch the moment he saw Jahmai Jones in the lab. He's like, oh, we're chalked. It's like, nope, not watching tonight. I'll watch the Oilers game. He's an Oilers fan, to be fair, and they're in the Stanley Cup final.
That's fair. With Connor McDavid out there, shit, I'd probably
3-3?
rather watch that too. What's that?
They were down 3-0, and now it's 3-3.
Yeah, now they're ready to reverse sweep them. So, who wouldn't? And it was on Apple TV, by the way. There are a lot of people who didn't watch today's game because of it. And maybe Apple TV was trying to do us a favor.
They got to stop with the Apple TV nonsense. Ooh, Friday Night Baseball. That's not a thing. They're like trying to make it a thing. It's not a thing. Runners in scoring position. This game 0 for 4. So the one good thing I really do want to touch on, because I don't give it enough credit, Yoendris Gomez was awesome tonight. Gave up 3 hits, had 3 walks, but struck out 5, did not give up a run in 4 2/3. He probably saved the entire series because there was no bullpen usage. It was him and Bickford. And
that's huge.
That really is a garbage game like this. The last thing, because the worst part about a garbage game like this is that you're unloading the bullpen, and you already just unloaded the bullpen. So I like that, they were like, you know what, Gomez, you're going to take this game pretty much the rest of the way. And, just straight out of AAA. This is somebody who, if you're looking for another like Michael King, I've brought him up on the show before. I think I brought him up before he was called up.
You did.
Gomez has pitched well this year. I think he is kind of the Michael King from here on out. I think they're going to look at him to be that 4-inning guy. Stretch him out, maybe be even a opener, but like more.
Yeah, and by no
than an
means, by the
opener.
way, Jake, just to kind of defend you here, because I know people are going to hear the name Michael King and they immediately think, oh, this is like an all-star caliber player. But no, it's more about usage and
Yeah,
the
the
fact
role.
that you can throw somebody out there and he can give you 4 innings. That's huge. That's part of the reason why
Almost
we were
5.
freaking out. Yeah, almost
Crazy.
5 innings. So we were freaking out. Like, why are we pulling Garrett Cole a couple games ago? Because we're going to burn 5 different dudes. We don't have any type of arms that are going to go 3+ innings. Phil Bickford obviously got out there on the mound. He just replaced Victor Gonzalez. A lot of people were unhappy with that, right? But of course, having looked at the numbers, the Yankees, I guess, weren't in love with the fact that Gonzalez actually has more walks than strikeouts.
Was giving up hard contact.
He was giving up hard contact, especially of late. He was atrocious in that Baltimore series. But to be quite honest with you, who was good in that series?
Yeah, he just seemed like more of a scapegoat, and they not only needed that scapegoat, but they also needed bullpen help because everybody is basically trashed at this point. Everyone's been used. I'm going to say something bold here. If Gomez was called up before, instead of Clayton Andrews, who they like never used and then DFA'd, to put Tim Hill on there, I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole. Point I'm making here, if Gomez is called up and they took Cole out and put Gomez in, they win that game against the Orioles. I have no doubt.
Really? Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
I
that's
really,
fair.
I just, to me, I didn't like their bullpen usage. The managing has been unlike Boone this year. He's been awesome this year, but when push came to shove against the Orioles, he was dog water. I mean, if I'm putting that lightly.
How bad was he? He looked like he looked a
horrible.
lot like Dave Roberts in that whole series.
Oh my God, don't even get me started. But yes,
and Dave Roberts is he's a great guy and everything, but overall, and you have to remember, these jobs are difficult. Managing the San Diego Padres, and San Diego Padres are actually like my second favorite team. I love watching them play. I don't know what it is. I think part of it's the park, but managing in those places, managing the Marlins, it's not as sweaty. People aren't looking at when to pull a guy, who you use, when, right? There's podcasts for the Padres, but it's not in an abundance like we have for the Yankees and the Dodgers, right? And the Giants. So some of these teams, we really analyze when these guys are making these decisions and kind of why. We want to know the why. Well, if you watch that Baltimore series, there were so many head scratching decisions like, oh, just why are we making this decision? Is there something that I'm not thinking about? And to be honest with you, there were like multiple spots in that Baltimore series alone, Jake, where I knew for a fact nothing was to be taken away. Like we were just flat out making mistakes. And that happens. People make terrible decisions. People have bad series all the time, not just players. I think Baltimore was a bad series for Aaron Boone.
Yeah, very bad series. And, I want to add on to that. It's one thing because I'll say this right now. I don't think most games don't come down to a manager having to make a game-winning decision. I mean, honestly, it's, most of the time, managers just kind of have to stay the course. They don't have to they don't have to get overly invested. Obviously, you have to make changes and things like that. And yeah, that's normal. But as far as like game-breaking decisions, you don't see that very often, right? However, in the Orioles series, it felt like every decision he made was game-breaking, and they were decisions he didn't even have to make. I mean, he was just over manager, whatever you want to call it. I just thought he was way over the top. And, again, I understand, okay, you don't want to rush Cole. We were totally fine. Sign me up for 85 pitches and I'm okay. 62 is outrageous.
It's
because
insane.
Basically you took a starting caliber pitcher off the mound to put Cole there.
Yep.
A guy that would have given you 5, and you didn't even get 5 out of Cole, and that was by choice on your part. That
And then you
wasn't.
stretch not one but two pitchers
Oh,
to have an extra day's rest to which they're not used to at all. Now, I know a lot of listeners probably would be like, what's the big deal? You had an extra day's rest. But Jake, you said it right when the show started.
yeah.
These guys are creatures of habit. They know when they're going to throw throughout the week. I pitch on Friday. On Saturday, I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to ice on Friday night, nothing on Saturday, nothing on Sunday. I'm going to run on Monday. I'm going to throw on Tuesday, and I'm ready to go on Wednesday, right? They know exactly what they're doing. They know what they're eating, when they're stretching, when they're going to get a massage, and you just stretch them out another day. It changes things. It just does. So I never understood that, why we simply chose. By the way, Jake, I actually wanted to ask you a question because they brought this up on Yes Network, and I thought it was super interesting. They said, Michael K brought up, if Garrett Cole tells you he's ready, don't you have to call him up? And I actually thought that was a pretty good point, but it makes me wonder, did Garrett Cole choose to return the exact day that he did return? And I thought that would be, I guess, shocking that the team would allow him to have that much power to essentially domino us down the series. In my opinion, if Garrett Cole tells me he's ready to go, I push him to pitch the day I need him, not the other way around.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was the Yankees they saw the writing on the wall. They saw the Orioles were coming to town and they needed to win this series. And I understand it sounds weird because you'd be like, you pitched Cole and you only gave him 62 pitches. They weren't all in. They were willing to do the risky part about putting him out there.
Yeah.
That's the first game all year he pitches, and he pitched well against an Orioles, really tough lineup. Wow. But the Yankees weren't willing to go the distance with that because you can make a risk, but I mean, it's no different than, when you pull out of we'll talk about the parlay thing again. Every now and then, FanDuel will let you buy out of it, right? You could let it ride or you can buy out of it. And if it's big enough, then their social media team will come up to you and be like, hey, you need to get out. We'll buy you out here, whatever. Be like, no, I'm going to let it ride. We've seen that before.
Because they know. They're like, hey, are you sure you want to add 2 legs to this? I know you might make $10 million, but you also can walk away right now with 50 G's.
Exactly.
And people think, oh, I would walk away with the 50 G's. They literally say this because it's just inherently known. Yes, adding another leg does not increase your chances. And by the way, parlays are terrible ways to make money. Bad. Okay. It's just for us creators to tell you can get rich with one click. That's literally it. Okay. But other than that, if you're really trying to get rich by doing parlays, you're doing gambling wrong. Okay. So that's all I'm saying. But you're totally right, Jake. There's no reason at all for the Yankees to just choose to add legs to their parlay to win baseball games. It doesn't work long term.
No, they're obsessed with that, and it's really. I'm going to keep using that analogy. I think it's the best way to explain it. You're adding more variables to the equation. When you add more variables, more things can go wrong. That's just the way it is.
So what's your prediction, by the way, for the rest of this Atlanta series? Because you have to remember you brought it up, Gomez and Bickford being able to go that 5 1/3 to finish this game really did give the Yankees bullpen somewhat of a shot in the arm to be able to go with most of their guys tomorrow. Of course, we've got Stroman going, and I believe Charlie Morton is pitching tomorrow for Atlanta.
You are right.
Yeah, so what's the prediction in as far as how we fare the rest of the series?
Well, so I think the Yankees are only going to win one game in this series, but I think they are going to win a game. I think they're going to win the Sunday game with Cortez. I really like the way Cortez pitched the last start. Stroman has been really iffy to me the last few starts. I know he's at the stadium. He pitches better at the stadium, but I don't know. I like the Yankees against Max Fried. I know he's a really good pitcher. So is Morton. And he's a better pitcher than Morton. But I think the Yankees match up better against Fried. And here's the thing. What is the Yankees' Achilles heel? Pitchers like Chris Sale that will strike you out to no end. Fried isn't that pitcher. I mean, in 84 innings, he has 76 strikeouts. That's not bad. But
he's more like a Kershaw-esque. He's not a guy who's going to go out and punch out 14. He's, of course, got that nasty 12-6 curveball. Oh, yeah. You're talking about Morton, or are you talking about Fried?
No, I'm talking about Fried.
Okay, yeah. So Fried, that's exactly who I was discussing. He's got the nasty 12-6 curveball. I actually faced him in high school, which is pretty funny.
That is funny.
Like
and then
in
Bickford
baseball
too. So
yeah, Bickford played him in junior college. Yeah, so I mean, some of these guys. But again, I kind of agree with you that we're going to win one game in this series. And the one thing that does help Marcus Stroman, his last start, that was the start where we gave up 9 stolen bases, and everyone was trying to figure out, do we blame it on Stroman for not holding on runners, or does Trevino have a poo-poo arm, a pool noodle for an arm? And we were all trying to discuss who's responsible for this. Whose fault is this?
No. They were trying. We already had made up our minds that it was
We
Trevino.
had made up our minds. Yes. But trust me, there is some bite back there, because Trevino he's a liked player in pinstripes. Yeah. We like him as well. But what people get twisted with Yankees Twitter and Yankees social media and podcasting is that you can criticize a player and say that it's not good enough without hating the player, right? We kind of have started using that terminology to almost in a way shield us from conversations from players that we really like. I really like Trevino. So it's like, having said this, you can't give up 9 stolen bases. I don't care who's pitching. I don't care what their leg kick looks like. I don't care how long it takes the ball to get to you. You might give up 2 or 3, but we're not talking about 2 or 3. We're talking about 8 or 9. And then now we come into this series. This is what's helpful. Atlanta right now, post Acuna, they're not necessarily a running team the way that I mentioned that Baltimore could be, right? And so when you come into this series, this is not necessarily the team that's going to expose the slowness to the plate. I'm expecting Wells to start tomorrow. I have no idea. I honestly, I don't get it.
How is he going to start tomorrow? Because remember, I think Stroman has preferential treatment about the catcher situation.
Has he said this?
No, but I think that's why Trevino starts as much as he does. I think there's certain pitchers that like throwing to Trevino.
Well, that's interesting, because I mean, I'm assuming these pitchers like the framing, and I totally get that. That makes a lot of sense.
Wells is just as good at framing.
He's at least comparable. He's close. I would say that Wells has to be statistically in probably the top 25th
top 10,
or 30th.
I would say.
Okay, so he's top 10 in the big leagues in framing. Of course, Trevino being number 1.
Trevino's better at blocking, so
yes,
pitchers might like that more, but I don't know. I don't know how you keep. Wells has been on the pine for what, 3-4 straight games?
3 or 4, yeah.
I mean, that's insane to me. Especially because, we know Trevino's bat and everything, but he's cooling off a little bit. Ground, double plays and all that. Yeah, so to wrap this thing up, man, Yankees, Braves, you and I both have one more win from the Yankees.
Yep.
I would love to take the series, but I think this is going to be a 3rd straight series loss. As weird as that sounds.
Yeah, I don't disagree. By the way, can I bring up this really quick before we go? We'll spend 90 seconds on it.
Yeah.
DJ LeMahieu, his ops on the short season so far is 486. Okay. I think I have more pop in my kneecaps in the morning than DJ LeMahieu does for this baseball team. It doesn't feel dangerous. Okay. And batting average, again, looking at LeMahieu, he's hitting 194. I'm not going to freak out. Okay. We saw this. We saw it with Wells, and we didn't give up on Wells. But one thing's for certain. When you watched Austin Wells earlier in the year, you said he's making a lot of hard contact. It's going at guys, right? But he's also flying out deep. It felt dangerous. Okay. The numbers might have said something else, but it looked good. these at-bats do not look good at all. They don't feel like anyone's a threat on the other team. And frankly, it just seemed he hit 6 today. It seemed like just a waste of an appearance.
I feel like everything is a ground ball with him. And I think the problem is right now with the Yankees, Oswaldo Cabrera looks like he did when he was struggling, and all of that talk about how he's changed his approach and everything. I feel like he's just reverted back.
I'm
He's a
surprised.
272 on base percentage. I mean, we don't talk about it enough, but he's having a horrible year now. Like he's come back down to earth, and it is not good. LeMahieu struggling. So right now, I mean, the Yankees don't really have a third baseman that's a well-rounded third baseman at this point in time. So it almost brings up the point, like, could they go after McMahon? Because now I understand maybe Poussin was ahead of the curve on that one, because we were kind of like, I don't understand,
Well, I mean, it is hard, right? It's difficult to say, yeah, let's just go get aggressive for this player when you have a player who's performing. I know there's going to be people who say, well, we knew Cabrera wasn't going to be a long-term solution. That's part of the reason why it was an open, right? It was a job that could be won.
What hurts
DJ
them
LeMahieu,
is John Birdie on the 60-day IL. I mean, that's just
yeah. I mean, that doesn't help. So
no, he was actually he had taken over as a starter when he got hurt.
Yep.
So,
and also the Yankees felt so comfortable saying DJ LeMahieu was just starting at third base. Remember that? Boone was just like, yeah, LeMahieu's in his rehab assignment. When he comes back, I know he's kind of dealing with he's kind of slowed down in his rehab assignment, but when he's ready, Cabrera, you're out. They knew right away that they're just bailing on this project. And if Cabrera played second base today, giving Glaber a day off, we'll see Glaber tomorrow. I don't know. Glaber's been terrible of late too. He's been bad defensively, leads the league in errors. He also is playing second base and hitting 210. So, we're in a weird spot right now. I think you can definitely make the case the Yankees need to get more aggressive, either bringing somebody up from the system, giving them an opportunity, or going out and going get McMahon to go play third base or wherever else. Because right now it looks like we have a hole at second, first, and third. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, isn't it funny? And I mean, we talked
catcher.
about this. It was obvious when, yeah. Well, I do push back on the whole, because all these Yankee shows I see on Twitter, they're like, we need to trade for a catcher, and I'm like, no, are you kidding me? This is the one team that doesn't need to trade for a catcher. They got Austin Wells, they got Ben Rice, they got Ramirez, they got Narvaez. They don't need to trade for a catcher. If you don't like Jose Trevino, move on to another guy. You have more catcher depth in your farm system than you've had in years. And I'm not talking about when they got Siegler, and I'm not talking about, Gary Sanchez and Romine. No. I mean, right now, these guys can hit and they can catch. And the Yankees have not had that. It's always been, yeah, they took 3 straight first round picks back to back years, catchers that can't catch, but they can hit. It's like, what? Well, now Ramirez is not bad, and Ben Rice caught Garrett Cole. So, sorry, I want Ben Rice behind the plate when Garrett Cole pitches.
Oh, no. I just really thought about something. Okay, so you know how Trevino clearly is just a really good offensive catcher? He's just been good. Okay,
well,
I know
right now we'll see. He needs to hold it up with
he's
that.
Hitting 250. Okay,
Yeah.
252. That's exactly what we would want. Okay,
Exactly.
He's above average offensive catcher. His ops is 726. League average, not just catchers, but league average in the big leagues is 700. Okay, so he's definitely an above average offensive catcher. So people are going to watch Trevino hit a homer in like later in this series or next series, and they're going to say, see, this is why he plays. It reminds me a lot of when Gary Sanchez would hit 2 homers against the Marlins, and then Twitter would be like, see, that's why Gary Sanchez should play. It's like, no, we're not arguing that Trevino can't hit. He's absolutely an offensive upgrade, at least right now in the short term, than Austin Wells or anyone else, maybe even a Ben Rice. But it's the package. It's about, can you throw the ball? Can you block the ball? Can you frame? Can you hit? All those things combined, and then you have to make a decision of who should be playing. Right now, we've got a guy who cannot throw. So, in my opinion, I think you're absolutely right, Jake. I think the Yankees have to at least put a little more eggs into the basket of Austin Wells, give him a chance, or give somebody else in the system a chance because, like you said, we actually have some depth at catcher.
Exactly. And you don't see that very often. Last thing I'll say, Ben Rice, I thought I know he had 2 strikeouts today, but I thought he looked really good against, and again, really good in a sense that he showed discipline and he worked counts against Chris Sale, because the one thing that he couldn't do in the minors is hit lefties. He was swinging at everything. And I thought he showed a lot of presence in the box and patience. And I liked his at bats. And those are the little things that, like, he can build off that, and he will build off that. Because I know people are going to be like, oh, he's hitting the $182. Well, he's got like 9 at bats for his entire career so far. So obviously we'll figure that out, as time goes on. I'm excited to see Ben Rice, his development. But to be honest with you, outside of, a reeling Soto right now, Volpe, Judge, Stanton, this lineup is not that exciting. Ben Rice's potential is. Ben Rice right now, I guess, yeah, I think he is exciting, but, it's just not a great lineup. And we talked about this when Aaron Judge was out of it and Soto was out of it. You're like, they're a really good baseball team. They're probably the best in the league, but that lineup is not like striking, wow, like, oh man. So yeah, I don't know. Did the Yankees get rug pulled? Did their fans get rug pulled a little bit here late in June? Who knows? We'll find out soon. But that's going to do it. So we appreciate you guys watching. We really want to extend our appreciation to you guys watching the last episode. That was one of our best episodes of all time.
Makes no sense.
We have no idea as to why. I'm not even kidding you. Gary and I said right before the show, we're like, yeah, we'll be good with 200 views. It hit 1.5K. We don't know how, and we would have totally understood if you guys opted not to watch. They lost 17-5 after all. And I know there are Orioles fans watching. We actually got a subscriber who's an Orioles fan, said they really liked our coverage. So that was cool.
Nice.
But yeah, we really appreciate that because, we barely wanted to watch the game. And we love recording, obviously, but we did not expect that many people to care about that show. Hopefully we get it this time around, but
yeah, and at least Houston, the silver lining here is that Houston put on 14 runs against Baltimore today. So thank God. Because if not,
that's great.
They would have overtaken us for first place. So we get another opportunity tomorrow. Hopefully, we've got to go win tomorrow. If we don't win tomorrow, like you said, you're expecting Sunday or the final game of the series to be a win. That's not good. Let's just go get our win out the way. Let's go get our win tomorrow.
I would gladly say, you know what? I think they're going to win on Saturday, but I don't really think they're going to win on Saturday. I think they're going to win on Sunday. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be biased for you to say things you don't believe.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't do that here. We keep it real. Even if it's psycho, like just total psycho behavior, hey, it's real. That's how I stand. But anyway, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, be sure to follow us on all social media at JK Bogan, at Gary Sheffield Jr., and at Yankees Unloaded. Until next time, guys, you guys take care.
And like this video.